Sniper rifles are my favourite weapons to use in Battlefield games. There's just something about the way they feel, the immense power that you can hold in your hands, and a single shot can take someone clean out of the game. There's the old favourites like the SV-98 or the M98B. Those are the popular kids on the playground. But what about the others? A rifle that I don't see very much being used these days, and the focus of today's episode of Through the Ages, is the L115 Sniper. The L115 Sniper is a variant of the original Arctic warfare rifle, designed and manufactured by British company Accuracy International. It's been present in many Battlefield titles, but it's not always been a staple in the same way other weapons like the M40 have been. It was part of the Euroforce pack for Battlefield 2, it was skipped completely in the Bad Company series, then it landed back in Play for Free and has been present in Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 and now Battlefield Hardline. It's had various naming designations through each of the games as well, each time changing to reflect the slight changes in weapon statistics. Today we're starting with Battlefield 3, where the variant we see is the L96. The L96 was introduced into Battlefield 3 as part of the Back to Karkin DLC, which featured 4 remastered maps and specific weapons from Battlefield 2. It's locked behind the Creeping Death assignment, which requires the completion of the previous Spec Ops assignment, 50 headshots, 50 spot assists, and 5 knife takedowns. When the weapon was first released, the point of aim on the weapon was offset from where most people would think it to be, causing many people to think the rifle was just extremely inaccurate. This is probably what caused the L96 to become one of the least used rifles in the game, although its statistics make it a very competitive rifle amongst all the others. It's closely aligned with the JNG-90, offering similar reload times, a similar bullet speed, and rate of fire, but across all of those statistics, it's beaten by the JNG-90. Not one stat is better overall. And that leaves it sitting in the middle ground between the heavy bolt action rifles like the M98B and the more mobile, fast-firing ones like the M40A5. But as it doesn't have the stats to make it appealing in the middle ground, I mean it's being beaten by the JNG-90, it's often just left behind on the loadout screen for something that is statistically superior. It's a shame really. The rifle was bugged when it was first released, and I think that caused many players to simply leave it before even using it properly. If it hadn't been bugged, I'd wager it would be a much more common rifle on the battlefield. That and the fact that it's a DLC weapon, which means you need to own the premium pass for Battlefield 3 or have bought the limited edition to get your hands on it. DLC weapons always see less usage, as the player base who own the DLC is less than the people who simply just own the base game. Moving on to Battlefield 4 now, and it's time to see why DICE switched this rifle's name in the middle of the game cycle. Here in Battlefield 4, the Arctic warfare rifle on offer is a story of two halves. When the rifle was first introduced into the game as part of the China Rising DLC, it was given the designation L96A1. It closely reflected the weapon available in Battlefield 3 at that time, and therefore a name change wasn't given. However, with the release of the Night Operations DLC some 2 years later, the then developers DICE LA decided to change the weapon characteristics. The weapon model used in Battlefield Play for Free, Battlefield 3, 4 and Hardline resembled the AWM, the Arctic Warfare Magnum, and that's also known as the L115 A1 as the UK designation. The AWM has a fluted barrel and a folding stock, both of which can be seen on the weapon models in these games. Therefore, Dice LA decided to change the weapon's name and some of its statistics to match those of the real-life AWM. Whether this was anything to do with the fact that the AWM in Hardline had been named correctly as the AWM and featured correct statistics based on the real-life model, I don't think we'll ever really know. What we do know though is that again the Arctic Warfare rifle in Battlefield 4 wasn't ever really a massive hit. It took on the same middle ground persona that it did in Battlefield 3, which again leaves it vulnerable to being overlooked when comparing it to other sniper rifles. It's beaten out on rate of fire by some of what I like to call the lighter sniper rifles like the Scout Elite and the M40A5, and it also lacks the heavy firepower and long-range capabilities of the M98B and the SRR-61. This leaves the L115 standing in the middle again, and in many scenarios you don't want a sniper rifle that does everything just fine. You want a rifle that fits the direct situation that you find yourself in. Whether that's when you need it to be light, nimble and fast, so you can use it in close quarters, or when you're 300 meters out from the objective, but you're looking to take out those pesky campers on top of the roof. You want a rifle that fits the situation, not one that just works well in every situation, but isn't as good as the others. Time to move on to Hardline now, and this is where I think the Arctic Warfare shines brightest.
Yeah, shit just got real.
Here in Hardline, the AWM benefits heavily from one of the gadgets that you can equip, and that of course is the Magnum rounds. The rifle is first available on the criminal faction, but it can be unlocked for the police forces if you happen to be able to find enough players to kill. It's a high damage, high accuracy rifle, putting it in line with the R700 sniper that the police forces have access to, but as mentioned, the rifle becomes even more powerful when you add those Magnum rounds in. You benefit from an increased damage against vehicles, and when you're playing in a game mode like Hotwire, where there are plenty of vehicles driving around, this can come in very handy. The Magnum rounds won't damage armoured vehicles though. If a vehicle is low enough on health, you can take it out with one hit. Maximum damage against a vehicle comes when you hit that critical spot, the weak area on a vehicle, and you can do as much as 30 damage, which is a hell of a lot. Against infantry, the effect isn't quite as great as using it against a vehicle, but you do benefit from an extended one-hit kill range with the AWM, which stretches out to about 25 meters or so. But you do have to remember that the AWM in itself is a slow-firing rifle, taking longer than others to rechamber a round, so even though you get a boost in close quarters, using that against infantry might be very difficult to really execute, especially as lots of other weapons feature high damage models anyway. The AWM in Hardline is extremely powerful in the right hands. It is top of the pile as well. Alongside the R700, there aren't any more powerful sniper rifles in this game, and I think it's the best of the variants from the last few games as well. It's a shame the L96 wasn't more popular before, but I guess there will be plenty more Battlefield games coming out in the future where it's likely to make an appearance. So there you have it, the L96, the L96A1, the L115 and the AWM, all of them under the Arctic Warfare title. Extremely similar in all of their appearances in the franchise, but by far in Hardline does it stand above the rest. Thank you very much for watching today. Don't forget to leave your suggestions in the comments for what weapon, or weapon family for that matter, that you want to see on the next episode of Through the Ages. And while you're down there, drop me a like as well. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.